Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your favorite team from Day's Drama Digest, bringing you the latest twists, turns, and heart-wrenching moments from the world of Days of Our Lives. Today, we're diving deep really deep into one of the most shocking and emotionally charged developments to hit the Dimera family in years, the chilling discovery in the Dimera crypt, the final confirmation of those mysterious skeletal remains, and the somber, long overdue funeral that will force the entire clan to confront the irreversible loss of their infamous patriarch, Stefano Dimera. If you've been following the show even casually, you know that the Dimera crypt has always been more than just a family mausoleum. It's a shadowy vault of secrets, a place where the dead refuse to stay buried and the living are constantly haunted by the ghosts of their past. For decades, Stefano Dimera, the Phoenix himself, has been the ultimate symbol of resilience, cunning, and near immortality. He's died and returned more times than anyone can count, each resurrection more dramatic than the last, leaving fans whispering, "Is he really gone this time?" But now, after years of speculation, cryptic clues, and mounting dread, the truth has finally clawed its way to the surface in the most brutal way possible through cold, forensic evidence that no amount of Dimera scheming can deny. It all began with that bone-chilling discovery beneath the crypt floor: skeletal remains hidden away, like a dark family secret, untouched and unacknowledged for far too long. Who placed them there? Why were they denied the grand, theatrical send-off that Stefano's larger-than-life persona demanded? These questions have tormented viewers and characters alike, fueling endless theories and sleepless nights. Was it a cover-up by one of his many enemies? A desperate act by a grieving family member? Or something far more sinister, a final, unforgiving act of betrayal from within the Dimera walls themselves? The tension built week after week as investigators, including the ever-determined Rafe Hernandez, pieced together the puzzle. Rafe, with his no-nonsense police instincts and personal history tangled up with the Dimeras, became the reluctant bearer of the worst possible news. When the DNA results came back, there was no room for doubt, no clever loophole, no last-minute twist to resurrect the legend. The bones belonged to Stefano Dimera. The Phoenix had finally, irrevocably, been extinguished. Imagine the scene: Rafe arriving at the Grand Dimera mansion, the weight of the revelation pressing down on him like the heavy Salem fog. The mansion itself opulent, imposing, a fortress of power and privilege, as felt smaller, more vulnerable. E.J. Dimera, the current head of the family empire, was away visiting his daughter Sydney, perhaps allowing himself a rare moment of peace amid the chaos of corporate battles and personal vendettas. But peace in Salem is always fleeting. When he returned, the air in the mansion was thick with unspoken dread. Rafe stood in the foyer, his face grim, the folder in his hand carrying the kind of finality that even E.J., with all his composure and sharp intellect, couldn't deflect. The moment Rafe spoke the words, "The remains in the crypt are Stefano's," time seemed to freeze. EJ's world tilted. This was his father, the man who shaped him, molded him, both terrified and inspired him. Stefano wasn't just a parent, he was the embodiment of the Dimera legacy: ruthless ambition, unbreakable will, and an almost supernatural ability to cheat death. To hear that those bones were his, hidden away like discarded trash, was a gut punch that struck at the very core of EJ's identity. His face, usually so controlled, betrayed a flicker of raw pain before the mask slipped back into place. But inside, a storm raged. How could this be? How could the great Stefano Dimera end up reduced to anonymous remains in his own family's crypt? And then there was Kristen Dimera. If EJ's reaction was restrained devastation, Kristen's was a volcanic eruption of grief. The moment Rafe delivered the news to her, perhaps in a tense confrontation in the living room, shadows playing across the walls like ghosts, her world shattered. Kristen has always been the most emotionally volatile of Stefano's children. Her love for her father fierce, obsessive, and all-consuming. She idolized him, emulated him, and in many ways became a mirror of his darkest traits. To learn that his body had been lying there, forgotten and dishonored, while she carried on believing he might one day return in triumph, was unbearable. Tears streamed down her face as she staggered back, her voice rising in a mix of anguish and fury. "No, no, this can't be right. Father always comes back, always does," she cried, refusing to accept the cold science staring her in the face. Rafe tried to offer what comfort he could, but Kristen waved him off, her eyes blazing with denial. When EJ stepped forward, reaching out to pull her into an embrace, she recoiled as if his touch burned. "Don't," she hissed, her voice cracking. "Don't you dare pretend this is something we can fix with words or hugs. He's gone, EJ. Really gone. And someone let this happen." The rejection stung EJ deeply, and Kristen have shared so much history, so much pain, but he understood. Grief like this doesn't allow for easy comfort. It demands space, rage, and eventually acceptance. Yet even in her devastation, Kristen couldn't stay away forever. The family bond, twisted as it is, pulled her back. Over the following days, as the reality settled like lead in their chests, the Dimeras began the painful process of planning what they had never truly prepared for: a proper funeral for Stefano Dimera. This wasn't just any memorial service. It was a reckoning. The Dimera family has buried and reburied Stefano before, but those occasions were often laced with suspicion: bodies switched, deaths faked, resurrections engineered. This time felt different. Final. The crypt, once a symbol of mystery, would now become the site of closure. Preparations unfolded in hushed tones, black drapes over the grand halls, invitations sent to a select few because who else would dare attend a Dimera funeral? And the inevitable media frenzy lurking just outside the gates. The funeral itself was a masterpiece of drama and sorrow. Picture the Dimera mausoleum at dusk, the sky bruised with purple and gray clouds, wind whispering through the ancient stones as if the spirits themselves had come to pay respects. A black casket, simple yet elegant, befitting a man who lived extravagantly but died in obscurity, stood at the center. Stefano's portrait loomed large, his piercing eyes seeming to watch over the proceedings, daring anyone to show weakness. Kristen arrived first, dressed in severe black, her face pale but composed, though her hands trembled as she clutched a single red rose with color of blood, of passion, of the life force Stefano embodied. She approached the casket slowly, each step heavier than the last. When she reached it, she placed the rose on top and whispered words only she and her father could hear. Perhaps apologies for not protecting him, promises to carry on his legacy, or simply a final "I love you." Tears fell unchecked now, splashing onto the polished wood. EJ followed, his posture rigid, every inch the stoic leader. But when he stood before the casket, something broke inside him. He placed a hand on the lid, bowed his head, and for a moment, the weight of generations pressed down. "You taught me everything," he murmured. "Power, survival, ruthlessness. But you never taught me how to say goodbye." His voice caught, and for once, EJ Dimera allowed himself to feel the full force of loss. Other family members and allies gathered at Chad with his quiet strength. Perhaps Tony or Andre if they were present. Even distant relatives drawn by the gravity of the moment. Rafe lingered at the edges, not quite intruder but not quite welcome. His role in uncovering the truth making him both hero and harbinger. The service was brief but powerful, no long eulogies filled with platitudes, but raw tributes that acknowledged Stefano's complexity. He was a villain to many, a monster to some, but to his children he was father, a mentor, the unbreakable core of their world. As the casket was lowered into its rightful place, definitely given the dignity denied. For so long family stood in silence. Kristen reached for EJ's hand this time, and he took it without hesitation. In that simple gesture, a fragile bridge was rebuilt amid the ruins of their grief. The phoenix was gone, but the Dimera fire still burned in them, in the empire he built, in the stories that would continue long after his bones rested in peace. So, what do we think about witnessing Stefano Dimera's funeral again? But this time with the weight of true finality? It's bittersweet, isn't it? On one hand, we've said goodbye to him before, only to cheer when he rose from the ashes. On the other, this feels like the end of an era. The show has lost one of its most iconic forces. The man whose shadow has loomed over Salem for decades. Are you devastated? Relieved? Excited to see how the family evolves without his influence? Or do you still hold out hope for one last twist? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I wanted to hear everything. Are you looking forward to this emotional arc, or does it feel like too much loss for the Dimeras? Hit that like button if you're riding this roller coaster with us. Subscribe for more days of our lives, breakdowns, spoilers, and deep dives. And turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay dramatic, stay tuned, and remember, in Salem, even death isn't always the end, but sometimes it really is.